There comes a point in a man's life when chasing women no longer feels like victory. It feels like exhaustion. In his 20s, the pursuit was thrilling. The games, the mystery, the emotional roller coasters. But by 40, those same games feel hollow. He has battled enough illusions to know that attraction built on chaos never lasts. The drama that once excited him now drains him. What he values has shifted, from excitement to peace, from conquest to clarity. He no longer needs validation from fleeting attention. He wants silence that doesn't feel empty, company that doesn't feel forced. This isn't bitterness. It's evolution. The man over 40 stops chasing not because he's lost desire, but because he's learned to protect his most valuable asset, his peace. Number 1, the exhaustion of the game. There comes a time in a man's life when the chase no longer excites him. It drains him. Not because he's lost his desire for women, but because he's lost interest in illusions. In his 20s, the pursuit was a thrill. Every glance, every mixed signal, every game felt like a test of his charm, his dominance, his worth. He thought he was proving something, to her, to the world, to himself. But after 40, he realizes the price he paid for that thrill: his time, his peace, his focus, his sanity. Chasing women demands energy, physical, emotional, and mental. The late-night texts, the endless decoding of mixed messages, the silent treatments, the maybe later replies, the emotional highs, followed by silent crashes. It's not love. It's adrenaline dressed as affection. At 40, a man's energy becomes sacred. He knows how limited it is. He no longer throws it into emotional chaos disguised as romance. He has built a life, a business, a body, a sense of calm. He protects that peace like a fortress. He's not afraid of women. He's just tired of the performance. When he was younger, he mistook tension for passion, confusion for chemistry, and inconsistency for mystery. Now he sees those patterns for what they are: immaturity wrapped in perfume. He doesn't hate the game. He simply refuses to play it. Because he finally understands, the game was never about love. It was about control, about who texts first, who cares more, who hides better. It was about ego, not emotion. And he's no longer interested in protecting his ego. He wants something cleaner, quieter, real. The older man watches the younger ones chase and smile knowingly. He remembers the rush, the dopamine, the chase, the drama. But he also remembers the emptiness that followed. The high always came with a crash. The woman who loved him on Monday could ghost him by Friday. And he finally learned the rule: if someone needs to be chased, they're already running away. That's why men over 40 stop chasing women. They don't need the validation anymore. They don't need to prove that they can get her. They've learned that not every woman is a reward, and not every pursuit is worth the effort. They'd rather walk alone in peace than run in circles for attention. He no longer interprets withdrawal as a challenge. He sees it as a warning. He no longer confuses silence with depth. He recognizes it as disinterest. He no longer wastes hours wondering what she meant. He knows what she meant, and he moves on. The modern dating landscape runs on drama, manipulation, and emotional games. But a man past 40 doesn't have the luxury of wasting time on chaos. He's already paid that price. He's done the lessons. Now, he wants the reward: peace. And here's the irony. The moment he stops chasing, women begin to notice him more. Because the man who no longer runs after anyone becomes the man everyone wants to follow. That's the power of detachment. And the freedom that comes when a man finally learns that not playing is the strongest move of all. Number 2. The supreme value of peace. There's a moment in every man's life when peace becomes more valuable than passion. It usually comes after years of chaos, after he's loved the wrong women, fought the wrong battles, and lost himself trying to please someone who was never satisfied. In his youth, he mistook intensity for intimacy. He thought love had to hurt to be real. He believed arguments were proof of passion, and emotional volatility was a sign of depth. He didn't realize that constant tension doesn't build connection. It destroys it. By 40, he's lived enough storms to understand that peace is not boring. It's sacred. He's seen how emotional chaos can infect every area of his life. His work, his health, his focus, even his sense of self. He's been through the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the silent treatments, the apologies that never change anything. He's had enough. Men who've lived through heartbreak, divorce, or betrayal carry invisible scars. They no longer seek excitement. They seek stability. They've learned that a relationship built on emotional highs will eventually collapse under emotional exhaustion. So they start choosing differently. They stop asking, "Is she fun?" and start asking, "Is she peaceful?" They stop chasing chemistry and start valuing compatibility, because chemistry fades, but chaos always stays. My peace is more valuable than your presence. That's not arrogance. It's survival. It's the quiet vow of a man who refuses to let someone else's instability ruin his inner balance again. Peaceful men are often misunderstood. Women may call them distant or cold, but they're not cold. They're calm. They've been through emotional wars and have no desire to go back to the battlefield. They've learned that constant stimulation is not love. It's addiction. And they're done being addicts. They don't want a woman who makes their heart race. They want one who makes their mind rest. Because after years of chaos, rest becomes the rarest form of intimacy. A man who values peace stops tolerating manipulation, guilt, or emotional games. He doesn't argue to prove he's right. He simply walks away to stay sane. He no longer confuses silence with love or drama with depth. He understands that peace doesn't come from finding the perfect partner. It comes from protecting his energy. And that's the transformation of the older man. He no longer searches for someone who makes him feel alive. He searches for someone who doesn't drain the life out of him. That's why men over 40 don't chase chaos anymore. They've seen what it costs. They've paid with their sleep, their health, their joy. Now they want something that money, sex, or beauty can't buy: peace of mind. And once a man truly tastes peace, no woman, no thrill, and no promise of passion will ever tempt him back into the storm. He'd rather be alone in silence than together in madness, because the older he gets, the more he understands. Peace is not the absence of love. It's the proof of maturity. Number 3, from conquest to companionship. In a man's younger years, love feels like a battlefield. He chases to conquer, not to connect. He wants to win her over, to prove his worth, to hear her say yes. It's not always about love. It's about validation, about the silent thrill of victory. But something changes after 40. The trophies lose their shine. He's no longer impressed by the applause, the attention, or the chase itself, because he's realized the cruel truth. Conquest without connection leaves you empty. When he was younger, he believed relationships were about pursuit. Getting the girl, keeping her interested, maintaining control. He thought success was measured by how many wanted him. Now, success means something entirely different: having one person he can trust in silence. The man over 40 no longer asks, "Is she beautiful?" He asks, "Is she kind?" He no longer wonders, "Can I impress her?" He wonders, "Can I rely on her when life gets dark?" He's done performing. He wants presence. He's done chasing potential. He wants reality. He doesn't need a woman to save or to fix. He needs someone who's already whole. Because saving people isn't love. It's ego disguised as compassion. There was a time when he mistook drama for passion and resistance for mystery. He thought the harder she was to get, the more she was worth. Now he knows. What's truly valuable doesn't need to hide. Genuine women don't test your patience. They respect your peace. The older man's desires are quieter, but deeper. He wants a partner, not a project. He's not impressed by beauty that demands attention. He's drawn to femininity that offers calm. He's no longer the hunter chasing butterflies. He's the gardener planting roots. This shift is not weakness, it's wisdom. He's lived long enough to see that lust burns fast, but loyalty lasts. He's learned that passion fades, but partnership endures. And what used to feel like winning now feels like wasting. He no longer confuses intensity with love. Love, to him, is not a spark. It's a steady flame. It's someone who listens, not just talks. Someone who chooses peace over pride, honesty over games, and effort over excuses. The irony is, the man who no longer chases becomes the man worth chasing. His calm confidence, his detachment, his quiet self-assurance, it radiates power. He doesn't need to prove he's a man anymore. He embodies it. At 40, he understands something younger men rarely do. Love is not about finding someone who completes you. It's about finding someone who doesn't compete with you. Someone who matches your growth, your values, your rhythm. He no longer seeks conquest. He seeks companionship. And in that transformation lies true maturity. The man who once chased women to feel powerful now builds with one woman to feel peaceful. Because the ultimate conquest is not over her, it's over himself. Number 4, self-sufficiency and contentment. By the time a man reaches 40, something shifts inside him. He no longer builds his life around others. He builds it around himself. He's worked, failed, rebuilt, and refined until he knows exactly who he is and what he values. And for the first time, he doesn't need a woman to feel complete. He already is. In his 20s, he thought happiness came from having someone. Now he understands it comes from being someone. He's built his own structure, a stable career, financial security, close friends, and quiet routines that ground him. His solitude is no longer loneliness, it's luxury. The modern world romanticizes dependence. The idea that love must fill a void, that someone else must make you whole. But men who've lived long enough know the opposite is true. The more complete you are, the healthier your love becomes. He wakes up early, not to impress anyone, but because he values discipline. He trains his body not for validation, but for vitality. He works not to prove his worth, but to maintain his freedom. And that freedom, emotional, financial, mental, becomes his sacred territory. He protects it carefully. So when women come into his life, he doesn't chase them out of need. He chooses them out of peace. He doesn't look for someone to fill an emptiness, but someone whose presence adds harmony to his already balanced life. He no longer seeks intensity, he seeks integration. This is why older men appear more selective. Not because they're arrogant, but because they've learned the cost of chaos. They're not afraid of commitment. They're afraid of losing themselves inside it. They understand that the wrong relationship can destroy years of work, discipline, and mental clarity. He has friends he trusts, routines he loves, and hobbies that give him meaning. He's no longer desperate for excitement. He finds beauty in calm repetition. Cooking his own meal, reading in silence, driving alone. These are no longer signs of isolation. They're proof of contentment. He has learned the quiet power of enough. Enough success, enough money, enough validation. And once a man feels enough, he stops performing. He becomes authentic, steady, confident, grounded. A self-sufficient man doesn't reject love. He just refuses to beg for it. He's not cynical. He's centered. He'll open his heart, but not at the expense of his peace. He's done trading his sanity for affection. He no longer asks, "Will she love me?" But will she disturb my peace? That's why when he finally lets someone in, it means something. Because she's not there to complete him. She's there to complement him. She's not his escape. She's his echo. She fits because she doesn't try to fix. At 40, self-sufficiency isn't about pride. It's about balance. It's the quiet understanding that you can stand alone and still choose to love. That you can walk away from anyone who threatens your peace and feel no loss. Because when a man becomes whole, love stops being a need and becomes a choice. And that's the moment he's finally free. Number 5. Risk calculation. When a man reaches his 40s, love stops being a game. It becomes a calculation. Not because he's lost his ability to feel, but because he finally understands the cost of feeling too much, too fast, and for the wrong person. A younger man falls in love like a gambler walks into a casino. Reckless, hopeful, ready to lose everything for the thrill of it. An older man has already been there. He's played that game. He's seen what happens when emotions cloud judgment, when desire blinds reason, when charm disguises danger. After 40, a man carries too much to gamble with. He's built a life, a career, a reputation, a home, and a sense of peace that took decades to earn. He knows how fragile all of it is. So when someone new appears, he doesn't rush in. He observes, he measures. He studies patterns, not words. Because experience has taught him that what you risk often outweighs what you gain. He understands the 3 layers of danger. Financial risk. Love can be beautiful until it turns into a legal battlefield. He's seen men lose half their assets, their homes, their freedom, all in the name of love. He knows that a single emotional mistake can cost decades of discipline. Emotional risk. Every heartbreak leaves a scar that doesn't heal the same way it used to. You can't bounce back at 40 like you did at 25. When an older man opens his heart, he does it knowing the recovery will be long and brutal if it fails. That's why he guards it. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Lifestyle risk. Peace is now his most valuable asset. He's built routines that give him clarity, friendships that keep him grounded, and solitude that recharges him. He won't trade that stability for drama, no matter how tempting the chaos looks. So he moves differently. He doesn't fall. He evaluates. He doesn't pursue. He tests. He doesn't chase chemistry. He studies compatibility. Every choice is measured, because he's learned that love is not a gamble. It's an investment. And like any smart investor, he calculates before committing. He looks for consistency, emotional maturity, and shared values. Not just spark or beauty. He knows that passion can drain you, but partnership sustains you. He's not looking for risk. He's looking for return. This doesn't make him cold. It makes him clear. He's not avoiding love. He's filtering it. He's not building walls. He's building standards. because he knows that the wrong person doesn't just break your heart. They break your focus, your finances, your freedom. At 40, he doesn't fall for words. He reads behavior. He doesn't get high on attention. He values peace. And he doesn't confuse chemistry with compatibility, because he's learned the hardest truth. Some people feel good, but cost too much. So he invests wisely. He loves slower, deeper, and smarter. He protects what he's built and refuses to risk it for temporary excitement, because he knows that true love doesn't demand recklessness. It rewards restraint. In the end, men over 40 don't stop loving. They simply stop gambling with their lives. They choose strategy over impulse, discernment over desire, and peace over passion. Because when you've built something worth keeping, you stop betting and start protecting. There comes a moment when a man stops chasing and starts choosing. Not because he's given up on love, but because he's learned what peace feels like. At 40 and beyond, love is no longer a race, a chase, or a performance. It's a quiet decision to stay true to yourself, even when emotions tempt you to forget who you are. A man who reaches that stage isn't cold. He's free. Free from the need to impress, to prove, to please. He no longer runs after validation. He walks toward purpose. And in that calm, he finds something stronger than passion: clarity. If this message resonates with you, share it. If it made you think, leave a comment below. I want to hear your story. And if you believe more men should wake up to this truth, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Because every time one man chooses peace over chaos, the world becomes a little bit wiser.